Here's a look at how things stand in CONCACAF World Cup qualifiers after match day 7. Panama with a massive comeback from 2-0 down to win 3-2 against Honduras. Elsewhere, Canada beat Costa Rica 1-0. El Salvador and Jamaica drew 1-1. And from Cincinnati, the United States beat Mexico by 2-0 courtesy of Christian Pulisic and Weston McKennie. What a night it has been from TQL Stadium. Welcome along to our studios, everyone. Poppy Miller, Ian Joy, and two beaming faces, Jimmy Conrad and Heath Pearce. We've got so much to discuss, but first things first, let's show you the best of the action from Cincinnati. So the US men's national team looking to make it 3 consecutive wins over Mexico in all competitions, but Tata Martino and El Tri hope to maintain their lead at the top of the standings for the final round of World Cup qualifiers. 8 minutes in, a chance here for the US, Ian.
Listen, as we go through these highlights, Poppy, you will see that there was chances for the opposition, and in the first half it was chances from distance, it was half chances for the US, but it was also giving up possession of the ball and mistakes that just simply didn't need to happen. I think the recovery here from Zimmerman's pretty good. Obviously, Mexico had their chances, but as I go through these highlights with the boys here, I mean, Mexico had some big chances. Big chances in front of goal. When you don't take your big chances in the big games and you have a performance like that from a top goalkeeper like Stefan, it's always going to be difficult in the second half. But in the first half, this type of football, Jimmy Conrad, had me a little bit concerned.
Yeah, and rightfully so, because you had mentioned before the game, Ian, that the back line, a little unsure of it, and we saw some miscommunications. You got two center backs stepping into midfield. It's going to open up a lot of passing lanes, especially if one of our outside backs is dropped off behind the line like we saw here. DeAndre Yedlin, of course, trying to get back into position, but that's a huge save from Zach Steffen. And you're going to need your goalkeeper to step up and make big saves at some point throughout the game if you're going to win any big game of consequence. And then here we got Tecatito. I mean, he might be my new favorite Mexican player. Thank you, Tecatito, for missing that one. That's an absolute sitter. Zach Steffen didn't even need to make a save on that, but Anthony Robinson puts a little bit of pressure. But after they missed those chances, you could kind of feel that maybe the U.S. got a little bit of luck there, and that luck was going to turn in the second half for sure.
Well, they had one big chance just before half-time right here. Obviously, Robinson and fullbacks did get forward for the U.S., but there were half chances. There wasn't anything clear-cut. And then it's almost as if you could see the anger, the frustration from Greg Berhalter. You knew he was going to try and inspire the team in the second half. And Heath, the team did not let them down. Second half performance was terrific. The way they started the second half, the way they attacked, they looked a lot more confident.
Could you imagine if this team played second halves all the time or played well for an entire game, how good this team could be? You're absolutely right, Ian. Second half, they came to life, and that's the beauty of the halftime and this type of experience of having Greg Berhalter, who's been through all this, right? And we go back again to the summer. You're seeing here things getting scrappy. Definitely a red card. Anybody who argues with that can fight me in the parking lot. But the point is with this stuff is the U.S. was so much better on the front foot, cutting out some of those mistakes, and then obviously phenomenal ball there. We talked about Tim Weah going onto that right side, moving Aronson to the other side. That directness allowed for this goal, and then we talked about it offline there, Ian. Christian Pulisic being willing to step up in this moment. That is a play that you want, to step in there, take the team on his back, and then create that moment. And then here, finally, Weston McKennie, for large periods against Mexico, both times we've seen him play against Mexico this year, Weston McKennie wasn't great, but when it came time for him to step up and create a moment of magic, cool, calm, collected, finishes it on the back post, and you can feel the temperatures rising in the stadium at this point.
Yeah, an unfortunate incident right here. Obviously, the referee was going to play a role in this game. You could tell that, certainly from the first half performance and in the second half there. Robinson picks up the second yellow card, then misses the next game against Jamaica. Ferreira getting his opportunity here as well to close things out. I mean, the US made good substitutions. The US made an impact in this game. Two superstars stepped up when you needed it most, and certainly Greg Berhalter deserves, Poppy, a big pat on the back for what he said at halftime and what he has been saying at halftime, because a much more inspired performance in the second half.
Absolutely. All celebrations for Greg Berhalter and the US men's national team as they make it 3 for 3 against El Tri. And this is how things look in the standings. The US now in the top spot, equal on points with Mexico, but they are number 1 after match day 7. Canada and Panama, they both won today in 3rd and 4th. And then you can see Costa Rica, Jamaica, El Salvador and Honduras all in the bottom half of the table. All right, so where to even start? Let's start with Christian Pulisic because he was the hero once again tonight against Mexico. He really started the goals, didn't he? We talked about the impact he could have despite his fitness levels. He stepped up massively tonight. Yep. And what a moment for his confidence as well, Ian.
Yeah, I'm actually frightened of taking the stage here from Jimmy Conrad because he predicted this, that Christian Pulisic could come off the bench and score a winning goal. I mean, this is just, it's sensational. It's what the kid is born to do. He's born to have an impact in the United States. He's born to have an impact on this team. I mean, what he does through World Cup qualifying in particular really stands out to me. Obviously, the cycle when they didn't qualify, he was the one that was stepping up and scoring goals just to keep this team going. And he stepped up big time again. I was a little bit concerned coming into this game, throwing him in, even for 30 minutes. I was concerned as to how that injury was, how his fitness levels were going to be. But this is the type of impact you want your man to have. I mean, he's a star player of this team. And when you need someone to step up, obviously looking at the bench at halftime, I mentioned it in particular, there wasn't really anyone that stood out outside of Christian Pulisic who could come in and really change this game. But change the game, he absolutely did. I mean, that is the type of impact I want from a superstar. And that's why he's there. That's why Greg brought him in. That's why all the questions have been asked about Christian. And it frustrated me. Why are we talking about Christian? There's a game going on. Greg's already said that he's not going to play a role in this game until maybe the later stages. But my, oh my, has he grabbed all the headlines now. Match winner right there.
And he did play that role. Jimmy, Ian told me that I had to go to him first on Christian Pulisic, so I apologize.
It's in my contract, Bobby. It's in my contract.
But let's talk about Christian, though, because what can't we say about him? We talked about this moment of magic that he could produce, and it was a much better performance from the team overall in the second half, wasn't it?
Yeah, no question. If we look at the stats, the U.S. have scored 11 goals so far in World Cup qualifying. 10 of those 11 have been in the second half. So to Heath's point during the highlights, why can't we replicate that second half at the beginning of the game? I want to see that as well, us being a complete team through 90 minutes. It's a conversation for another time. But focusing on Christian Pulisic, there seemed to be some tactical change at halftime with regard to try to isolating our players, specifically Timo Weah, who I thought was fantastic in this game, getting in 1v1 situations. And instead of having to beat his player entirely and trying to get something, he's just trying to get enough space to get a cross off. He did that, 4, 5, 6, 7 times effectively in the second half. I feel like there was something there. And then when Christian Pulisic came on, you could see there was a commitment to get numbers in the box. Weston McKennie was getting into the box late. Christian Pulisic came across. He's probably the last player that I think would win a header in the 6th to score a game winner, Christian Pulisic. He's cute as a button, but he's not known for his aerial prowess per se, right? So there had to be some type of communication from the coaching staff. Let's just get more numbers in the box, put Mexico under pressure, make them suffer a little bit, put them on their back foot. And I thought we did that to great effect. And once we scored, you can tell I lost my voice. I was screaming like a maniac once those goals were scored. It was just great to see, and a lot of credit to Greg Berhalter for picking those players. There was a lot of question marks around that back line in particular, and rightfully so, without John Anthony Brooks. And I thought those questions were answered, and I'm very excited to see how this team continues to move forward, especially against a Jamaica team that's feeling pretty good about themselves, getting a hard-earned point tonight against El Salvador away from home.
Yep, absolutely, Jimmy. Great point. And let's talk about Weston McKennie as well, Heath, because he made it too, and it's been a roller coaster for him, hasn't it, with this team so far in qualifiers. But he gets that security goal tonight in such a critical moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what you want from him. We talked about it actually in the Nations League. As I mentioned in the final, he didn't perform all that well, but he showed up in big moments. He gets his chance and he puts it away cool, calm, and collected. And when you put that into a complete performance of him, it's a little bit of a hit or miss. There's a number of players from the U.S. side that I wasn't impressed with in the way or the standard of which I want to hold them to. This is a player that plays regularly at Juventus. I'd like to see him have more impact in games like this. But now you look back at those 90 minutes and you say his impact was delivered in the form of goals. We know that, again, with Allegri, the expectation is for him to score more goals at Juventus. He's showing that ability to go forward. And when we were talking about it at halftime, one of the things that I think that we did miss out on was that connectedness. We were talking about the defensive line, the midfield three, but that connectedness to the front third of getting players into the attack, being more connected with Ricardo Pepi, to see Weston McKennie start to inch up a little bit forward and have that connectivity, I thought was a really important moment for this team, and perhaps even the game changer of starting to create more space for players around the field and staying more connected in the attack.
Yeah, listen, we're talking about the match winners in this game, and it's hard not to, because you watch a second half like that and it's much more inspired. Your superstars step up, Christian Pulisic, Weston McKennie getting in goals. Obviously, Tim Weah, as Jimmy mentioned, I thought he was terrific as well, Jimmy. He was absolutely outstanding. But man of the match today, and this is not even a competition. I know Christian scored the winning goal, so to say, but Zach Steffen, what he did in that first half to keep the team in this game, it deserves so much credit. I mean, that was massive. That was a man-of-the-match performance, and he did it in 45 minutes. Second half, Mexico were non-existent. Didn't even, I think they had, 2 shots in the second half? That was it. I mean, it was a completely different swing of momentum. What Greg said at halftime, yes. But the only way he had the opportunity to have that conversation with his team at 0-0 is thanks to what Zach Steffen did in goal. Just a terrific performance that, in my opinion, was man of the match.
Jimmy, do you agree? Was Zach Steffen the man of the match for you as well? And what did you take away from this team defensively tonight?
There's a lot of questions to answer there, Poppy. Yes, I think Zach Steffen definitely deserves to be in the conversation. Timo Weah, obviously the goal scorers. I thought Yunus Musa was quietly excellent. He had an incredible move in the second half, just getting out of some pressure. I think his upside is amazing. But with regard to the defense in particular, yes, we survived a couple big scares, and thanks to Zach Steffen, we still had that 0-0 scoreline that Ian's talking about. But they made some adjustments at halftime, and there was a play where DeAndre Yedlin got way up the field, and the ball got cleared. We gave the ball away in a bad area, and I'm like, oh my God, is Anthony Robinson up as well? And the ball gets cleared, and Anthony Robinson's the one that actually wins it. And I'm like, thank you. We just felt more balanced in the second half, that if one outside back goes, the other one has to stay. And if another center back steps in the midfield with Raul Jimenez who's dropping off, the other one has to go back and create some cover. And I thought our balance, even in midfield, was very good as well as we started to commit more numbers going forward. We're winning a lot more second balls. And that's attributed to a back line that's confident, that's not scared to play a high line. So I thought our communication, we all talked about it at halftime, needed to be better, and it was clearly better in the second half, and that's attributed to not only the coaching staff, but to the players to go out there and execute. So I thought it was a great performance. Getting a clean sheet against that front three from Mexico is something to be proud of, and hopefully we can carry that over into the Jamaica game.
Yeah, Jimmy, it's also being compact. It's also chemistry. I mean, that's where Greg has his influence on the team talk at halftime. I mean, they were so much more compact. The fullbacks weren't just going forward. There wasn't this disjoint between the two centre-backs. There was much more cohesion in that second half defensively. And they actually looked like they were playing with one another instead of not really knowing what one another was going to do in the game. It was an outstanding performance in the second half, and the defence deserves so much credit for that.
But one worry to come from tonight, of course, Heath, there was Miles Robinson was shown red, so he'll miss the next game. Now, how much of a concern is that for you against Jamaica?
Well, it's a huge concern. I think he's been one of the consistent players. Obviously, I don't think he finished the last camp in that great of form. Tonight, I don't think he was phenomenal, so to speak. But now you get Chris Richards. They threw Chris Richards in late in that match, which I think was an important part to get him just some reps, get him some flow, get him the feel of the game. He's a player that's been having a good season as well in the Bundesliga, and a player that we expect to have a larger role within this national team. Was even, a lot of claims that he should be a starter in this match. So it's obviously a knock for us, but Walker Zimmerman has actually proven to me to be the most consistent one, especially in these games where they're scrappy. There's a lot of aerial duels. It's a lot about winning second balls. Robinson's good at putting out fires, that recovery speed that he has. Chris Richards will have those same attributes. Obviously, non-natural players on that left-handed side. It'd be nice to have John Anthony Brooks in again when he's back in form. But I'm more confident now that I'm seeing that consistency from Walker Zimmerman, that you put him out on the field and at a minimum, he's going to have a solid game, and that's going to lift the level around him. When you looked at a few moments, there was a few offside trap moments where the flag went up, and you could see Zimmerman looking at his teammates, clapping them, giving them high fives for all following his lead of setting that line. And I think that bit of leadership gives confidence to whoever steps in there to know that they're going to have somebody around them that has experience, that's going to lead that back line and own that back line, because it's really important in any back line that you have at least one person that says, this is mine. When I say step, we step. When I say drop, we drop. We do everything that I ask. And if we make a mistake, it's on me. But otherwise, I'm the one that leads this line. And I think Walker Zimmerman's the one that's really stepping up right now.
Yeah, it's a great point, Heath. And, the US now are in this top spot, aren't they, Jimmy? They're in prime position heading into this game against Jamaica. So how does Greg handle these next few days? Because we know all the emotion that went into this match. So it's a tough one now, isn't it? Looking ahead to this game against Jamaica, especially with it being on the road.
Yes and no, I'd say to that, Poppy. Yes, there's going to be somewhat of an emotional letdown, beating our biggest rival in a very famous scoreline, 2-0. But on the flip side, we have the benefit of only having 2 games this window. We don't have to rotate our squad as heavily as we did in the 2 previous windows where we had 3 games in 8 days. So you could theoretically roll off the same team, and they should be somewhat fresh. They have 3 or 4 days to get back to full strength. I think we'll see a couple of changes. Obviously, Chris Richards is my choice to come in for Miles Robinson. You keep the same back four. Yedlin and Anthony Robinson, I think we're good. You got to keep the midfield the same. I want as much rapport and chemistry being built, very important, as Ian continues to suggest. And then up top, I think you maybe bring in Christian Pulisic for Brendan Aronson at this point, and let Brendan Aronson be the spark plug that comes off the bench, and let Christian Pulisic start from the outset and see how long he can go, as long as he can go, like 45 minutes, 60, and then maybe bring on Aronson from there. But outside of that, I think you roll out the same team, and I think that's a good thing as we continue to build that chemistry moving forward.
I agree with Jimmy, except I would actually keep Brendan Aronson in that spot. We saw with Pulisic to be able to manage those minutes, and Brendan Aronson, I think, knows that it wasn't his best performance in this game, perhaps trying too much, not knowing when to put his foot on the ball. And then on the flip side, Timo Weah, a sure starter for me. When you look at the way that Jamaica play in transition, we saw very early on against Panama. Panama finding the ball 1, 2, 3 passes and attacking very vertically can expose Jamaica. Obviously, they're coming off of a hard-fought point in that one, but there's obviously going to be a few changes. I think you keep the midfield the same. I think that back line's the same. I don't think you want to go with Turner in this one as well. But there's going to have to be some sort of something. Maybe Joe Scally gets into that back line for DeAndre Yedlin, who I thought was solid in that game. Again, not having the best balance in the first half of when one goes up, one stays. But again, I look at this opportunity and I say, okay, Joe Scally, is he even the right one? Because a Jamaica away game, that's not an easy match. And you don't want to put somebody, we've seen him throw players into the fire, so to speak, of these difficult moments. Maybe that's the one for Joe Scally. Maybe Joe Scally's just in camp to gather his sort of experiences here. But either way, I think we're pretty close to looking at the same lineup, knowing that you've only got 2 games. Those players can get back to their clubs. You can increase the minutes for Christian Pulisic, but not overdo it.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you there, and I'm doing something that I hate to do, and that's disagree with Jimmy Conrad once again. Listen, Christian Pulisic, you got to manage his minutes.
I don't believe you, Ian. I don't believe you.
By the way, I wanted him to start, and now that he came off the bench and scored, I'm like, why would you start him? Just let him come off the bench.
Super sub coming off the bench. But I also think the words from Thomas Tuchel towards Greg Berhalter and the way they handle the minutes maybe had scared the US national team into throwing him in from the beginning, and there's really no need now. Now, I do get this though, Jimmy, I agree with you. This is a massive game. This is a huge game. For Jamaica more so than it is for the United States. The United States, I think, if you get that victory, you're sitting on, 17 points after this now, 8 games in. You're in cruise control. You're flying all the way to Qatar already. But then you've got to remember that Jamaica, this is probably their last chance. Sitting on 6 points. They threw away the game today against El Salvador by conceding in the last minute. Then it would have been much more close. Obviously, things change very quickly. Now, I think you will, if we've learned anything from Greg, that he loves to rotate. I think with the victory today and the performance and the way they went about that second half performance, you can take your foot off the pedal, but not too much. This is a big game. You've got to go try win that game. So I'd like to agree with Jimmy in one way that I don't want to see that many changes. I'd like to see 2 or 3 maximum. I don't think Christian starts, but I do think that we will see 2 or 3 changes, maybe more, getting used to what Greg is saying. But that was a massive victory today. And I will say this, I'm really proud of the way they performed in that second half, and I'm really proud with these last 3 games that we're starting to sense this young culture, this young, youthful, exuberant, exciting, energetic. I mean, the future's so bright with these kids. I didn't know what to expect going into this game, which is why I predict experience was going to win. Because with these young players, you have no idea how they're going to perform on the big stage, in front of a massive audience. The pressure's really on. But again, they shone brightly in that second half. There's many reasons why they did that. But I'm starting to feel that CONCACAF is really swinging in our favour. After not making the World Cup, let's go, baby!
Was this a defining night for this young US side?
This was a big night. Big second half. Second half. I mean, now this is tremendous. For 8 players to start that game who are under 24 years of age, and Jimmy and Heath will both tell you, to play for the United States national team, it's such an honour. And to see such a young squad getting an opportunity, and Greg pushing these young boys. We're learning a lot about these young players. They're obviously learning as they go, but to continue to get results, to not lose games, and to get a clean sheet against Mexico, your biggest rival in CONCACAF World Cup qualifying, I don't think you can ask for anything more than what we witnessed tonight.
Well, what a memorable night it has been in Cincinnati. Next up is Kingston, Jamaica, and we will get you set for that match here on CBS Sports HQ. It's been an absolute pleasure to have your company tonight. Here's a reminder of those matches we've got coming up on Tuesday. The Jamaica, as we mentioned, will host the US, Costa Rica against Honduras, El Salvador on the road to Panama, and Canada and Mexico will go head-to-head, all of which available, as always, on Paramount+. It's been a pleasure to have your company tonight. Final score from Ohio, the US 2, Mexico 0. We'll see you Tuesday.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.